Somebody's working a bird over there, wind blowing this way, I'm walking off this way. I want the dog to look at him from the front or the side. I don't want him to look at him from the back. And that keeps, because you create these things with your dog by doing those things. So we're going out here and you take a lot of the antsiness out of him by being around a bunch of people. And but we'll go out in the field and if it's all right, we'll set up out there and then we'll take some dogs and we'll go through this thing and see if I can help you. Because standing up here talking is not going to get, not going to, in other words, you've got to do it yourself. It's not something that you can read out of a book or that somebody can tell you to do. It'll give you a general idea.
I have a question about introducing the collar. Tri-Tronics has got this bark collar out now that's got this, shocking thing that keeps the dogs from barking so much. And I've used it on a couple of dogs and they really turned sour on me and they really were hard to work later with the collar. Do you think we should avoid that type of device when we anticipate using the electric collar down the road with a dog?
Well, I think so, because a dog gets scared of that thing. The minute you punch him, that he's got a negative attitude. You see right there and then.
So that's probably the wrong way to introduce it to a dog.
The dog wasn't conditioned in the first place. He went out there barking. You go out there and slap that on him, and he barks twice, and he runs in the kennel. He said, man, this is bad stuff. So then when you get out there leading him around, and you punch him with that collar, then immediately he's got the wrong attitude. But the reason I like to condition a dog good, and when I'm going out with a puppy, I put the collar, put this on him, strap the collar on him with no button in it. And I lead him around out there and mess with him. And the time I want to put that button in there, maybe 2 months later, I put the button in, it's nothing new. Then I teach him, come here, with that collar. And then when I want to stop him on a bird, I don't say nothing. I just punch him with that collar, and he knows to stop. You don't have to keep hollering, whoa, whoa, whoa. You just punch him one time, and you don't, as they say, burn his head. What you do, you hit the button just enough to stop the dog. Then you go to the dog, turn him around, and just pet him. Walk all around him. Maybe if the bird flew off over there, walk over and flush it again. But it sure keeps the dog from getting paranoid. And you can train, what people tell you, you can train any kind of a dog with electric collar. I don't care whether he's a Vizsla, Weimaraner, or what it is. If you do it right, you can train I don't say train them, but you can use a collar on him after you've got him trained, and it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't upset him. Somebody else got a question?
So the dummy collar you don't use, but you put the regular collar on.
I put the regular collar on him, and a lot of times don't even put the button in.
And then you let him wear that, and that's how he gets used to the collar.
I let him wear it when I'm out there working. So when I strap that collar on him when I'm going to use it, it's nothing new, and the dog don't get upset. The minute you put something new on a dog's not dumb. He knows. Then if you put the button in and hit him right then, why he said, man, here it comes, you know what I mean? In other words, this is something different, So you condition the dog with the collar just by letting him wear it when you're working, before you ever use it.
How long do you work a dog with your check card?
I usually, before I turn the dog loose to point a bird, usually about a month and a half. Point a bird on his own. In other words, I get him to where I can lead him up, and he'll point a bird, and I walk in there and flush it, fire a gun, he's standing there. And then I say, well, now this dog's ready to work. Now I'm going to set him up. I'm going to be sure that the pigeon over there, the wind's blowing right, and everything is, the pigeon's not hung up where he can fly. There's 2 things you got to do. He's either got to point it or run it up. Now's his chance. So I turn him loose, and you got the dog where you can hack him, you can tell him here, over here, and you can keep him in the scent stream, take him up out of that bird. If he comes up there and points the bird, that's fine. But if he wants to rip it up, don't say nothing to him. Just let him rip it up and stop him with a collar. You see it with your dog. Just stop him with a collar, and once you can stop him with that collar, go get him, set him up, pet him, and walk around in front of him. 2 or 3 trips like that, he'll point birds. I'll guarantee that. Just 2 or 3 trips. You don't have to say nothing to him. He'll point birds. Because he got 2 things he can do. Well, 3 things he can do. You can make him blink, but he has to either chase them up or point them, one or the other. So you've already taught him what he's supposed to do, and that collar is just to reinforce it.
When you plant your birds, are they planted so they're asleep or they can fly?
No, never never plant a bird. I don't like to work dogs on birds that's asleep. See, with pigeons and you're teaching dogs to handle birds, you want birds that'll fly from them. See, when you teach dogs to handle birds, not to wool point birds. There's a difference. The reason that is when a dog comes by here and he sees a pigeon over yonder and he's 30 yards away, he'll stop pointing. Look just as good if he scent smelling. If he comes by here and smells him and he's over there, he'll stop pointing. He won't go walking in like this and drape his ears down over the top of it and you'll holler, whoa, whoa, whoa. Now that's a bad scene, you know. So you teach a dog to handle birds, point birds and handle birds, and not wool point them. There's a difference.
So sight pointing isn't all that bad, huh?
Sight pointing doesn't make any difference. That dog should sight point the bird or scent point him, and he shouldn't walk in on him. And everybody gets a bad habit. They go up and they smell a bird, and the bird's over there. The dog smells it, turns, and knows where the bird is, and they'll start in with it, and they'll say, well, I'll let him get a little closer, a little closer. So directly, he ain't going to stand back. He's going to want to get up there and stick his nose right down on top of it. I've been guilty of that. I was going to teach him the wool point, you know, just go up there and tell him, whoa, you know, him looking at the bird. But that's not the way it's done. If you want a class dog, you teach him to handle birds and not wool point them.
You tell us how you take the dog back and put him. Do you pick the whole dog up? You lift him up by the neck. You take the ground away from him, lift him up in the air.
A dog don't know how far he went, and I can prove that to you. Because a lot of times you don't know yourself. He knows he went forward, but he don't know whether he went 30 yards or 10 yards. So there's no use of choking the dog all back here. It might feel good to you. That's a bad scene. So the dog, all you need to do is get him, and I do this a lot, and it works real good. Go get the dog like this, right up to the collar, just like this. And just take him like this, and I spin him right around here like this, right on the side of him, just stand him up. He knows he went forward, and it'll really work for him.
So just 3 feet.
Something about, if you pick him up like this and set him back, he'll still want to take them steps, you know what I mean? But if you spin him right around here like this, and then just come up with that collar like that, and then just reach down and pet him. It's something about that spinning him that makes him want to stand there, you know. I think that Dave and some of the guys do that, and you've seen it, and it works, you know what I mean? Now, I can't tell you why it works, but it works pretty well, you know. It kind of gets the dog's attention. And that's what you're trying to do, is get his attention without stomping on him, you know. So it works out real good. Anybody else got a question?
At the beginning of this, how old a dog are you starting this with?
Well, you can start a dog at any age. You know, there's a difference between training a dog and what you call breaking a dog. You can go out here and start with a young puppy and teach him to do things, and you're training him, but you're not breaking him. But if you go long enough, the dog becomes broke. But if you wait at least 2 years old and you says, he's done all these things, you say, now I'm going to break him. And you run him in puppy and derby up till he's 2 years old. Caught all kind of birds. Now the day of recognition has come. So now I've got to get him broke because I got to run him in the broke dog stage 2 months from now. See? So they go out there and they start hammering and beating and thrashing and hollering wool and the dog, in other words, they don't do enough of this and haven't done enough of it to start, then you're going to have trouble. That's how you get them blinking, doing all kinds of stuff. I don't know if anybody ever been guilty of that or not. Dog psychology and timing. If you can catch a dog at the right time and he's taught the right thing, maybe one lesson, and it turns the dog around completely. Like I was talking about, turn the dog loose to point a bird. If you catch him right in the act, right at the right time, that electric collar is something that timing is really important. The time that you hit that button. Now, if you have to go out there and think about what I should do, then you're too late. And then you're going to get a negative. You're going to get a negative reading. But if you can look at that dog and do it long enough that you don't have to think, what should I do? But you automatically do it. And you do it at the right time. A lot of time, one lesson will turn the dog around. Bill Mullins has got one. Now, these you should have around. By the time he's 2 years old, if you haven't got the basics in there, you're in trouble. Because you've lost a lot of time and you're going to have a lot of problems with it. And when I take a dog, I don't take him and say I'm breaking. I'm training. And directly he is broke. You know, you don't say, well, I've got to have it done tomorrow or next day. You just go out there every day and you do your work. Certain things you're doing, and the first thing you know, well, the dog responds. And you take a young dog when you're leading him around, he'll tell you when he's getting to solve things, what you want him to do, you know. But if you try to crowd those things and get ahead of yourself, then you're going to get in trouble. And that's what everybody wants to do. They say to me, well, when are you going to pull the check line off of it? And I say, I may never pull the check line. He may wear it the rest of his life. And they say, well, when are you going to turn him loose to point a bird on there? I said, I may never turn him loose. I said, till he understands what I want him to do, they no use me turning him loose because he's going to mess me up. But once I get him to a certain point, then I know then that he should be ready to do these things. Only way out, this is like a bridle on a horse. In other words, the very movement you make with this rope, with this thing right here, means something to the dog. Go over here. Come here. Little tugs on it. And if he insists that he's going to go around those trees over there on you, you don't say nothing. You let him go around the tree, and then you just pull him right through that. That old pup, he'll run around that tree, and you just pull his head up against that a few times like that. Just pull him by it that way, and then you can't get him run around that tree. I'll guarantee that. You try. In other words, don't say come here or nothing. Just pull him around that tree and skin his head there a time or two, and boy, he'll just come right around there, and you go by that tree, and he'll start around, and he'll jump back this way to go with you. He ain't going around. A timid dog, if you can work at it right, will make a nice dog. But you have to train that way too. You don't go out there beating and thumping. You go out there training with this rope, and this rope means something. In other words, it's his hands and this thing here, and the way and the temperament you have. You have to control your temper, and you do nothing only what's good for the dog. If you got frustration, well, go over and kick that rock, because that ain't gonna help you a bit. And especially if you train a bunch of dogs, one dog will make you mad, and they'll carry over into the next one, the next one, the next one, and directly you got ulcers and everything else. So your temperament has a lot to do. If you're going to be a good dog trainer, you have to learn to control your temper.
You was got here a little late. I had to catch the birds. Just real quick over what you talked about with the rope and collar.
What do you mean by that now?
Well, I've never used one of those before.
You never used this?
The way I train, I turn my puppies loose on the farm. By the time they're 6 months old, they're pointing wild birds.
Well, that's true. That's true. But in other words, we're talking about dogs. You can do that if you have access to these hills out here. You can run them puppies out there long enough, and they'll point birds. He won't be a trained dog, but he'll point birds, and he'll usually learn to. Because you'll get there and shoot one for him, he'll stand there and hold it. So but he won't. But you're not going to go out and please this guy here for judging the trial. In other words, trialing is